Welcome back to the Something in the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and today we are diving into the exciting world of conservation wins and challenges. We've got a packed episode today featuring a bunch of updates on crucial legislation, habitat restoration projects, and even a major land acquisition victory that ensures one of America's most iconic landscapes remains untouched. If you're like me, you know how vital it is to protect the places that we fish, hunt, hike, and just enjoy the beauty of the great outdoors. Conservation isn't just about preserving landscapes, it's also about preserving traditions, preserving wildlife, and preserving the incredible experiences that bring us closer to nature. So sit down, relax, enjoy, and let's get right into it. But first, I want to talk about my week. And my weeks for the past month have been packed. Ever since the beginning of October, they've been packed. We've been doing so much stuff, and wouldn't want it any other way. Honestly, I love what I do. I like, making videos and putting out podcasts and stuff. But a lot of stuff's been going on, especially with the holidays coming up. We just had Thanksgiving. Christmas is right around the corner, and I'm sure if you guys are like me, it's been flying up on, it's going to be happening soon, is what I'm trying to say. It's going to be happening soon. It seems like just December's flying by already. I'm recording this on the 9th. This is going to come out the 10th. So not a lot of time to prepare for Christmas. It just seems like it sneaks up on you every single year. But I've been doing a lot of hunting, doing a lot of rifle hunting specifically for whitetails here in Pennsylvania. And, man, it's just been a grind of a season. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. And I'm going to get into all of that this week on my video. It's going to be a compilation of my whole rifle season. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. It kind of sheds light into the fact of being a part-time hunter, kind of, where you're spending a lot of your time at work, but you're also trying to get out in the woods as much as you possibly can. So that's what's going on this week, and that's what's going on for my video. Now let's get right into our topics today. So, Topic 1, the MAPLand Act and its significance. Let's start with one of the most important pieces of conservation and recreation legislation to come down the pipeline in recent years, the Modernizing Access to Our Public Land Act, or the MAPLand Act. This bill is designated to solve one of the biggest frustrations for outdoor enthusiasts: access to public lands and knowing where we can and can't go. For many of us, whether we're planning a weekend camping trip or scouting out a new hunting spot, the first step is figuring out where you can legally go. We rely on maps to guide us, but here's the problem. Not too much of the data about public land access, it's outdated, it's incomplete, or scattered across different agencies, different platforms. This makes it very, very hard for us to explore and enjoy the outdoors without running into issues like accidentally trespassing on private property, not knowing which waters are, say, navigable in terms of Pennsylvania, and things of that nature. Right now, much of the critical information about property boundaries, trailheads, and recreational access points exists in a patchwork of maps, files, and sometimes even old paper records. If you ever tried to get accurate data for maps for a hunting or a fishing trip, you likely run into this issue where you don't know exactly where you can go. The MAPLand Act is the answer to this issue. By creating a centralized digital system, it ensures that public land access information is easily accessible and up to date for everyone. Now, why does it matter? This isn't just about convenience, it's about equity and fairness. According to research by the TRCP Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership, about 16.4 million acres of public land in the western U.S. are technically accessible. but a lack of access easements or proper information has made it difficult for people to legally use these lands. This means that millions of acres of land that us as the public already own that could be used for hunting, fishing, hiking, or camping are currently underutilized and effectively off limits. The Land Act is about to change that. It will allow agencies like the BLM, the U.S. Forest Service, and state agencies to update and standardize their data on land access, making it publicly available through one central platform. This means if you're planning a trip to a national forest, a BLM parcel, or a state wildlife area, you'll be able to access real-time, accurate maps on your phone or computer, whether you're scouting, hunting, or just hiking around. Now, you might be familiar with apps like Onyx Hunt, which have kind of revolutionized the way that we navigate our land, use GPS and things of that nature. And these apps have provided hunters, anglers, and outdoor adventurers with access to very, very detailed maps showing all of the stuff that we're talking about right now. Property boundaries, roads, trails, and points of interest. But imagine if that technology was supported by a government-backed resource with accurate data that's updated regularly. Now, I know this would be really important for me as a Pennsylvanian because we have this thing called the Hunter Access Program where certain landowners can kind of donate their land, give their land up to hunters and anglers that want to use their land for exactly that. And there's not really up-to-date, accurate information right now about these properties. So having this sort of legislation in place where you can standardize it, it would be huge. You'd be able to know exactly which properties are enrolled in the program and exactly which places you can go, because right now it's still very, very unclear. All right. Now, let's move into our second topic, the sage grouse plan and balancing conservation across the West. So, like I said, we're going to take a step here into the wilds of the American West, where the sagebrush steppe meets the rolling plains and towering mountains. This is home of one of North America's most iconic and elusive birds, the greater sage grouse. Recently, the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, finalized amendments to its Greater Sage Grouse Management Plan, which will have a major impact on 10 western states and the future of this remarkable species. The greater sage grouse is a symbol of the West, a bird known for its striking mating rituals, where males gather in large open spaces, puff out their chests, and make rhythmic popping sounds to attract females. But this bird's future has it's been under serious threat for the past few years. And the new BLM plan offers a vital step in preserving not just the sage grouse, but the entire ecosystem it inhabits. So why does sage grouse matter? Sage grouse is what's known as a keystone species in the sagebrush ecosystem. The health of the bird is directly tied to the health of the land it relies on. So these birds need large, contiguous expanses of sagebrush to survive. Their habitat is shared with a wide variety of other wildlife. That could include mule deer, pronghorn, various other songbirds, reptiles, mammals, and the list goes on and on. But the sage grouse plays a critical role in maintaining biodiversity. And when its population starts to decline, it's often an early indicator that something is off, something's not exactly right. However, over the years, sage grouse populations have plummeted due to a combination of factors, most notably habitat destruction from development, livestock grazing, invasive species, and energy production. At one point, there was a serious consideration to list the sage grouse under the Endangered Species Act, which would have led to extensive land use restrictions in the region, but thanks to some very concerted conservation efforts, including the BLM's management plan, the bird remains off the endangered species list for the time being right now. So what would the new plan mean? So the new amendments to the sage grouse plan are designed to ensure that the bird continues to thrive while balancing the needs of industries like energy development and agriculture. This is the essence of conservation today, is finding a way to protect vital habitats while also allowing for responsible land use. Very famous quote by Theodore Roosevelt: "The greatest good for the greatest number of people." That's what we're trying to balance here. The amendment plan includes a range of strategies that will make a real difference on the ground. One of the key provisions is stricter guidelines for energy development projects, particularly those involving oil and gas drilling. While the U.S. is still dependent on fossil fuels, it's essential that we find ways to minimize their impact on sensitive habitats like those of the sage grouse. The plan kind of enforces buffer zones around crucial habitats, limiting the encroachment of drilling rigs, roads, and other infrastructure. And this will kind of help reduce disturbances during critical periods like mating season or the winter, whenever the birds are increasingly more vulnerable. In addition, the BLM plan calls for significant investments in habitat restoration, which is one of the most pressing challenges for the sage grouse is the invasion of non-native grasses such as cheatgrass, which not only competes with sagebrush but also is fuels more frequent and intense wildfires. This wildfire cycle is very devastating for sage grouse, as their habitat can oftentimes take decades to recover after a fire. So this new plan includes funding for targeted projects to restore native plants, remove invasive species, and even use control burns to help manage these fire-prone areas. And based on what I've read about this project, it seems like a win for all species. The beauty of the sage grouse management plan is that benefits it far more than just the sage grouse itself. The restoration efforts and stricter protections for habitat also help a multitude of other species that share this land. Species like the mule deer, whose populations are closely tied to sage grouse habitat, will see improved conditions. Pronghorn, another iconic western species, will also benefit from the preservation of migration corridors and the reduction of human development in critical areas. Now, why is this plan important for outdoor enthusiasts? As someone who spends a lot of time out west myself, I've personally experienced the awe of the sagebrush landscape. Wide open areas, golden sunsets, and the serenity of the land. The importance of the sage grouse management plan extends beyond the bird itself. It's about protecting the landscapes that we love, the places where we hunt, fish, hike, and camp. For hunters, the health of species like mule deer and pronghorn is directly linked to sagebrush habitat that sage grouse also rely on. And for anglers, the restoration of wetlands and streams associated with the sagebrush ecosystem offer more opportunities for fishing. Even for those who enjoy hiking or camping, this plan ensures that these pristine wilderness areas will remain intact, offering future generations the same experience that we've all cherished. While the new amendment represents a significant victory, the work is far from over. Habitat restoration is a long-term project that requires sustained funding, coordination, and commitment from federal, state, and local agencies. It also requires us as the public to continue advocating for policies that support the protection of our natural landscapes. Conservation is not a one-time effort. It's a constant process of adapting, restoring, and safeguarding. But with plans like this one, we're making real progress in balancing conservation and development in ways that protect our wildlife and the ecosystems they depend on. For the sage grouse, this new plan could mean the difference between thriving or disappearing from the landscape entirely. For all of us, it's a win for the West, and it's a win for wild spaces. All right, now to our third part here, the Kelly parcel and the fight against overdevelopment in the West. So let's head back to one of the iconic sagebrush states, Wyoming, for a story that's kind of making waves in the conservation world. The Wyoming Land Board recently approved the sale of the Kelly parcel, a stunning piece of land adjacent to Grand Teton National Park, and they sold this parcel for $100 million. And this is a very, very big deal, and here's why. So let's picture this. Take a vast stretch of public land where the rugged beauty of the Tetons towers in the background. The Kelly parcel sits just outside of Grand Teton National Park, connecting to the park to other critical habitats in the region. This land isn't just scenic, it's essential. Now, let's take a minute here. I want you all to close your eyes and just imagine this. Just picture what I'm about to say right here. So close your eyes, picture it. Every fall, you can imagine herds of elk moving through the property. Their bugles echoing in the crisp autumn air. Mule deer pick their way through snow-covered sagebrush, while moose wade through the icy waters of nearby streams. This land is also a haven for birds of prey, like bald eagles and hawks, soaring above the plains. In the spring, the land comes alive with new life. Pronghorn antelope give birth to their fawns, and the grasses are dotted with wildflowers. The Kelly parcel isn't just a piece of land, it's a vibrant, interconnected ecosystem supporting some of the most iconic species in the American West. All right, now you can open your eyes again. This is what I'm trying to get across here. The Kelly parcel is huge, absolutely huge piece of land right next to the Grand Tetons. Absolutely stunning, undeveloped, undisturbed, and critical habitat for tons of different species. Now, why does this deal matter? So, without this sale, the Kelly parcel could have been sold to private developers who might have turned it into an expensive subdivision or a golf course or something not habitat wildlife related. Imagine a sprawling estate or estates replacing the migration corridors, roads cutting through the heart of wildlife habitats, and light pollution dimming the starry skies of the Grand Tetons. Wyoming, like many other states, has seen an increase in development pressures as demands for housing grow. While housing is essential, not all development is equal. Subdivisions like the ones that could have been built here often carve up wildlife corridors and push animals closer to human settlement, increasing conflicts and reducing biodiversity. By selling the Kelly parcel to Grand Tetons National Park, Wyoming has ensured that this land will remain wild and untouched. The migration routes will stay intact, allowing animals to travel safely between feeding and breeding grounds. These corridors are vital for species survival, especially in the face of, an ever-changing climate and ever-encroaching human development, as they provide pathways to more suitable habitats, summering and wintering ranges. This is a win for all who value wild places. It's a reminder of what's possible when conservation takes precedent over short-term profits. By prioritizing habitat preservation, we're not just protecting wildlife, we're protecting a way of life that values open spaces, clean air, and the beauty of nature. That is intrinsic to the American identity and the American West as we know it. Now, let's close our eyes one more time and just imagine this again. As the sun sets over the Kelly parcel, imagine a silhouette of elk grazing in the faded light, their forms blending into the shadowy landscape. Imagine the call of a lone coyote in the distance, and the sense of peace that comes from knowing this place will stay as it is, wild, free, and untamed. This sale represents a commitment to preserving these experiences, not just for us, but for future generations to cherish. This is why we fight for conservation. It's about keeping places like the Kelly parcel wild, ensuring that the rhythms of nature continue uninterrupted, and celebrating every victory along the way. All right, you can open them back up again. And as we move on from the Kelly parcel, we are going to head to habitat creation and funding wins. All right, let's talk about funding here. So there's a lot to celebrate. Over $275 million of government funding has been allocated for habitat creation enhancement through partnerships with several incredible nonprofit conservation organizations. This funding isn't just about wildlife, though. It's about ensuring that the places we love stay vibrant and accessible for future generations. So, who is receiving the funding and what are they going to be doing? The first part is, or I guess the first organization is Ducks Unlimited. They're receiving a significant portion of this funding to restore wetlands across the Mississippi Delta and the Great Lakes region. These projects will improve water quality, reduce flooding, and create critical nesting and feeding habitats for migratory birds. Next organization, the NWTF, or as known as the National Wild Turkey Federation, is focusing on forest health in the Appalachian region. They'll use these funds to thin overgrown forests, reduce wildfire risks, and create better habitat for wild turkeys, deer, and songbirds. Next organization is the Mule Deer Foundation. Out west, they're tackling grassland restoration projects that will help benefit pronghorn, mule deer, and the beloved sage grouse, as we were talking before. These projects will also involve repairing fencing to allow for easier wildlife migration. I'm assuming that'll also include fence removal, because I know that is a huge priority right now in the West, is removing old barbed wire fences. Next, Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. So these groups are using their share of the funding to restore grasslands and agricultural lands into native prairie habitats. This work not only benefits upland bird species like pheasant and quail, but also improves soil health and water retention for farmers. Excuse me. All right, so what does this mean for the outdoor community? This funding is going directly into projects that benefit both wildlife and people. So just think about it. Healthier wetlands mean better waterfowl hunting opportunities. They also mean cleaner water. Improved forests mean better habitat for game species like deer and turkey, but it also helps improve hiking, and it improves the scenery and the wildlife viewing opportunities for people. And restoring grasslands creates not only vibrant ecosystems, but also breathtaking landscapes for us to explore, as well as slowing down water flow, increasing water retention, increasing the soil health like I just mentioned, and a host of other things. All very, very important stuff. Now, here in Pennsylvania, I guess I kind of can talk about this in a little bit selfishly, but here in Pennsylvania, a portion of this funding is going to be supporting the improvement of trout habitats and stream restorations. So organizations like Trout Unlimited will kind of lead these efforts and focus on clearing sediment, planting native vegetation, and creating structures to provide shelter for fish. When organizations like Ducks Unlimited, NWTF, and others collaborate, we see an incredible multiplier effect. These projects not only enhance habitats, but also improve opportunities for outdoor recreation and create jobs in conservation. Every dollar spent on habitat restoration brings us closer to a future where wildlife thrives and outdoor traditions continue. It's about creating a legacy that we can all be proud of, one that balances human needs and the needs of nature. So let's celebrate this win, but also remember that there's always more to do. Keep supporting these organizations, volunteering your time, or even just spreading the word about the importance of habitat restoration. Together, we can, make a very real difference. As you can see here, we already are making a real difference, and we just want to continue that. Very, very important stuff. Now, the last segment that we want to talk about today, public lands and waters legislation. So let's dive into some of the key public lands and water legislation issues currently advancing through the Senate committee as we close out the 118th Congress. These bills could very well shape the future of conservation and outdoor recreation and public land management in the U.S. for years to come. So here are some of the key bills on the table for right now. So one of the most impactful bills is the Land and Water Conservation Fund Permanent Reauthorization Act. Now, this legislation aims to make permanent the funding for the LWCF, which is Land and Water Conservation Fund. So the LWCF, which has been a cornerstone of public land conservation and outdoor recreation since 1965, funded by offshore oil and gas lease revenues, not taxpayer dollars, might I add. The LWCF has supported over 40,000 projects nationwide. Whether it's a local park, a new fishing pier, or an expanded trail system, this act ensures that these types of initiatives can continue uninterrupted, benefiting communities and wildlife alike. Another significant piece of legislation is the American Outdoor Recreation Act. This bipartisan bill is focused on improving access to outdoor recreation on federal lands. It includes provisions to modernize campground facilities, expand trail access, and streamline permitting processes for guided tours and outdoor events. For example, the act proposes a pilot program to upgrade national forest campgrounds with features like solar-powered showers and improved signage. It also aims to enhance hunting and fishing opportunities on federal lands, ensuring these traditions remain accessible for everyone. Next, the Boundary Waters Wilderness Protection Act. It's another critical measure under consideration. This legislation would permanently ban sulfide or copper mining in the Rainy River watershed to protect the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness in Minnesota. As one of the most pristine freshwater ecosystems in the country, this area attracts over 150,000 visitors annually and generates more than $77 million in economic activity for local communities. By safeguarding its water quality, wildlife, and recreational opportunities, this act ensures that the Boundary Waters remain a cherished destination for generations to come. Next, the Wildlife Corridors Conservation Act is designed to address one of the most pressing issues facing wildlife today, habitat fragmentation. This legislation would establish a national system of wildlife corridors to connect fragmented habitats and ensure safe migration routes for animals like elk, bison, and pronghorn. For example, the Yellowstone to Yukon corridor has shown how protecting migration routes can lead to healthier ecosystems. This act aims to replicate those successes across the United States. Another crucial bill is the Chronic Wasting Disease Research and Management Act. Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is a fatal neurological disease affecting deer, elk, and moose. This legislation would allocate $70 million annually to state and tribal wildlife agencies for testing, surveillance, and public education. For hunters and conservationists, Tackling CWD is essential for maintaining healthy deer populations and ensuring safe hunting practices. Finally, and this is kind of our last piece of legislation before we move on here. The Colorado Outdoor Recreation and Economy Act seeks to protect 400,000 acres of public lands in Colorado by designating new wilderness areas, recreation management areas, and wildlife conservation zones. Part of this act includes the Thompson Divide Withdrawal and Protection Act, which would prohibit new oil and gas leases in the area while preserving existing ones. The Thompson Divide is a beloved destination for outdoor enthusiasts, offering pristine landscapes for hiking, fishing, and camping. And protecting these from future development, say oil and gas rigs and things of that nature, is crucial. And I know right now America is very reliant, needs a lot of energy to support our growing population, things like that. We just need to figure out a way to do it in a responsible manner and not sacrifice habitat and wildlife for our short-term gain. So those are kind of the bills, and it really represents a significant opportunity to advance conservation. But they won't succeed without public support. So make sure that you're reaching out to your representatives and let them know how you feel about it. Let them know the important public lands and how important public land and public water is to you. By raising our voices together, we can ensure that these initiatives receive the attention and the funding that they need to become a reality. These acts remind us that the outdoors isn't just a resource to be used, it's part of our heritage, to be cherished and preserved. They highlight the delicate balance between enjoying nature today and protecting it for tomorrow. Whether you're a hunter, angler, hiker, camper, or simply someone who loves wild places, these bills have something for everyone. Let's stay informed, stay engaged, and keep pushing for the protection of the lands and waters that we hold dear. Together, we can ensure that the wild remains a place where we can all find inspiration, adventure, and solace. As we wrap up today, I want to leave you guys with this thought. Conservation isn't just about preserving landscapes or protecting wildlife. It's about creating a future where people and nature thrive together. Today's stories, from the Kelly parcel to habitat funding to public lands legislation, are a reminder that progress is possible and it is happening right now. But it takes all of us to make it happen. Whether it's advocating for legislation, supporting local conservation organizations, or simply sharing these stories, we all have a role to play. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode of Something in the Wild podcast. If you enjoyed today's discussion, I know this is kind of a little bit different than what I usually do. This is very much scripted, and I really wanted to hit all the talking points that I was researching throughout the year. So let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to also check out our website and follow us on social media for more content, all of the stuff that we're bringing to you guys, videos on Fridays, podcasts on Tuesdays, Instagram posts, shorts every single day of the week. Go make sure you check it out, all on the YouTube channel, all on my Instagram, all on my TikTok as well. So you can find that all at somethinginthewild.com. But until next time, let's make sure to keep it wild, everyone, and let's keep protecting and enjoying the wild places that we all love. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.